Hello students, in this class we will deal with the chapter that is Living World. Living world is so wonderful. Such a wide type of living organisms they are present on earth. These living organisms they are found in all the habitats, be it cold mountains, forest, desert, oceans, hot water spring. Organisms which are surviving here, they are showing both the ecological conflict as well as cooperation. All this make us think, make us ponder what life is. There is no clear-cut definition of life, but there are several unique features which are shown by living organisms through which we can distinguish them from the non-living. So let's try to understand all these features here. So today I am going to deal with living world, and under this topic I am going to deal with the characteristics of living organisms. Characteristics which I will deal here, that is cellular structure, metabolism, growth, reproduction as well as consciousness. So 5 characters I will be dealing here. Let's write them down. Cellular structure, metabolism, growth, reproduction, and consciousness. Let's start with the cellular structure. You might have studied in the previous classes that body of all the living organism is made up of cells. Means the cells, they are building blocks of the organism, right? Along with that, the activities which are performed by the organism, it is sum total of the activities of its cell. So, what is there in the cellular structure? Cells, just now we have discussed, they are building blocks. Building blocks, that is body of all the organism is made up of cells. So you can say these cells, they are structural unit of organism, right? Structural unit. Along with that, the activities which are performed by the organism, it is sum total of the activities of its cells. Yes, it means along with that we can say that the cells, they are the functional unit of organism. Cells, they are both the structural as well as functional unit of all the organism ranging from prokaryotes to eukaryotes, from the simple organism to complex organism. Let's divert our attention to another fact which needs to be answered here, whether cellular structure is a defining feature of living organism or not. Yes, what do you mean by defining feature? A feature is known to be defining if it fulfills 2 criteria. 1, it should be unexceptionally present in all the living organism. It should be universally present in all the living organism, and secondly, this feature should not be shown by non-living objects. So let's write these 2 criteria. A feature is known to be defining. It is known to be defining if it is fulfilling two criteria. One, it should be unexceptionally present in all living organisms. Right? And along with that, this feature should not be shown. Should not be shown, but should not be part of non-living objects. So let's divert our attention towards the cellular structure now, related to that whether it is a defining or a non-defining feature. What do you think over here? Yes, cellular structure is part of all the living organism, but in non-living objects, the cellular level organization, cellular structure is totally absent. So it means the cellular structure, it fulfills both of these criteria. That's why it can be known as defining feature. So this is clear here now. Cellular structure. What are you going to call it as? Defining feature. Why defining feature? It fulfills two criteria. After the cellular structure, now we are going to deal with the next characteristic, that is metabolism. Term metabolism arises from a Greek word that is metabol. Metabolism term arises from Greek word that is metabol. Now what does metabol means? Metabol means change. It means conversion. Change. Now body of all the organisms, all the living organisms, they are made up of chemicals, right? These chemicals, they are constantly being made. They are synthesized as well as they are transformed into new biochemicals. All these changes, this formation, this transformation, all these changes together, they are known as chemical reactions. And all the chemical reactions which are occurring inside the body of organism constitute metabolism. This is very much clear to all of you. What is metabolism? Let's write it down. All the living organisms, they are made up of chemicals. These chemicals, they are constantly being made, synthesized, as well as transformed. So these changes, these conversions, these changes, these conversions, they are known as chemical reactions. And what is metabolism? All the chemical reactions occurring inside the body of organism constitute metabolism. All chemical reaction occurring inside our body that constitute metabolism. Now the metabolism is broadly divided into the two categories, that is anabolism and catabolism. So now two types of metabolic reactions. Anabolism and catabolism. Anabolism involves building up reactions. It involves in the synthesis. Anabolism involves building up reactions. But what about the catabolism? Catabolism is just reverse. It involves in the breakdown of compounds. So it involves breakdown reactions. As the anabolism, it involves building up reactions. So it means in the anabolism, from the simpler substances, there is formation of complex one. From simpler substances, there is synthesis of complex substances. In the catabolism, complex substances, they will undergo breakdown, and after the breakdown there is formation of simpler one. Complex substances, after the breakdown, result in the formation of simpler substances. Yes, can you cite certain example here which you have studied in the previous classes with respect to the catabolism and anabolism? Yes, in anabolism, one of the process you have studied, that is photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a process which is performed by plant for synthesis of food. So here example is photosynthesis. Catabolism. In the catabolism, we can cite example of respiration. Through the respiration, there is breakdown of food. After the breakdown of food, there is production of energy. This energy is utilized by the organism for its different activities. Now, along with this fact, one thing more I want to discuss here. These metabolic reactions, they can occur in vivo as well as in vitro. The another fact which I want to discuss here, these metabolic reactions, all the metabolic reaction, catabolism, anabolism, they can occur in vivo as well as they can occur in vitro. Now what do you mean by that? In vivo means these reactions, they are occurring inside the cell. Inside the cell. In vitro, these reactions are occurring outside the cell. Outside the cellular system. It means these reactions, they can even be performed in the test tube, that is in vitro condition. Now the reactions which are occurring in the test tube, surely these reactions, they are not living things. Yes, it should not be confused. The reactions which are occurring in the test tube, these are not living things. Because for the performance, for the occurrence of these reactions, there is requirement of inputs like substrate, enzymes, that is the biological catalyst. So in the test tube, the reactions which are occurring, they are not living things. They are not living things, but these reactions, they are surely living reactions. Because for these reactions to occur, there is requirement of component of the cell, that is enzyme, that is biological catalyst. So these reactions, they are living reactions. Yes, this point is very much clear to all of you. Now again we have to see here whether the metabolism, it is a defining or a non-defining feature of living organism. Just now I have discussed here, a feature is said to be defining if it fulfills two criteria. Yes, this metabolism, it is present in all the living organism, whether they are prokaryote or they are eukaryote, whether they are unicellular or they are multicellular. So it means this feature is present unexceptionally in all living organism, right? But in the non-living objects, these type of the activities, they are absent. Non-living objects, these reaction, these activities, they are absent. So it means it is fulfilling both the criteria. That's why just like the cellular structure, metabolism, it can also be known as defining feature. So you got this? Just like the cellular structure, metabolism is also fulfilling the two criteria. That's why both of them, they can be known as defining feature. Now after the metabolism, next feature which we will discuss here, that is growth. Now the next feature, that is growth. Growth is irreversible increase in mass, or you can say overall size of a cell, organ or the whole organism. So let's write the definition of growth. Growth is irreversible increase in mass, or you can say overall size of a cell, organ or whole organism. Growth occurs in the organism due to the net result of two components of metabolism. Yes, it occurs in the organism due to net result of two components of metabolism. Yes, the two components just now we have discussed. Tell me those two components, that is anabolism and catabolism. If in the organism, anabolism, I am representing the anabolism by A, is more than catabolism. Catabolism here I am representing by C. Anabolism is more than catabolism. Anabolism is synthesis. Catabolism is breakdown. It means synthesis is more than breakdown. Under such condition, growth will occur because synthesis is more. Right? Second condition. Now, anabolism and catabolism, they are equal. The synthesis and breakdown occurring inside the cell, they are equal. Inside the organism, they are equal. Under such condition, no growth will occur. Right? Now the last condition, when catabolism is more than anabolism. It means breakdown is more as compared to the synthesis. When the breakdown is more, surely it results in negative growth. Got this? Now here we are going to compare the growth occurring in the plants and animals. We will compare plants and animals with respect to growth. In the plants, growth occurred throughout their lifetime. Throughout the life cycle of the plant, growth occurs. When such type of growth occurs, it is known as unlimited growth. Are you getting this? In the plants, growth occurs throughout the lifetime, throughout the life cycle. It will occur continuously. That's why, what you are going to call it as? This is known as unlimited growth. Unlimited growth. Along with that, you can also call it as indefinite growth. What about the animals? In the animals, growth occurs only up to a certain age. And the mature stages, growth in the animals is absent. So growth in the animals occurs only up to a certain age, not throughout the life cycle. That's why this type of growth, you are going to call it as limited growth. Occurs only up to certain age. That's why, what type of the growth? Limited. Along with that, what you are going to call it as? It is known as definite growth. Right? Now, do you know that the growth is shown by both the living as well as non-living objects? But in the two, the growth which is occurring, that is different. In the living organisms, living objects, the growth is intrinsic. It is internal. But in the non-living objects, the growth is extrinsic. It is external. So let's try to illustrate. Let's try to explain what is extrinsic and what is intrinsic growth. Now, how the growth is different in the living and non-living objects. In the living, just now I have discussed, I have told you that in the living organism, growth is intrinsic. Intrinsic growth, you can also call it as internal growth. So let's try to explain this. Let's say this is our cell. It is structural unit of an organism. Now during the growth, inside the cell there is formation of protoplasmic substances. There will be synthesis of protoplasmic substances like protein, carbohydrate, fats. The synthesis of these compounds will occur. Due to the synthesis of these compounds, now the cell size is going to increase. Yes, due to the synthesis of these compounds. Now what will happen? Cell mass, cell size is going to increase. So you can say the growth has occurred. So it means in the living organism, growth occurs due to the addition of new substances inside the cell. New substances, they are added inside the cell. That's why what you are going to call it as internal, intrinsic growth. Yes, this one is clear. Internal, the compounds which are added, they are added inside the cell. Let's look what is going to happen in non-living objects. In the non-living objects, growth is extrinsic. External growth. Now this growth is seen in the case of mountains. Let's say this is a mountain. With the due course of time, the size of mountain will increase. Yes, the size of the mountain will increase. How it will increase? Due to the addition of substances. Mountain का size increase होगा due to the addition of substances, but now the substances, they are not added inside. Where the substances they are added? They are substances, they are added on the surface. The substances, they are added on the surface, due to which size will increase. So here the growth has occurred due to the addition of substances on the surface, not inside. That's why you are going to call it as external, extrinsic growth. Yes, the two things, they are very much clear to all of you. Now again the same question, whether it is a defining or a non-defining feature. Yes, it is non-defining feature because it is also shown by non-living objects. Growth is non-defining. After the growth, now next parameter, next characteristic which we will study, that is reproduction. Reproduction, it is a process through which progeny is formed by the organism. The progeny which is formed, it is more or less similar to the parental generation. Yes, so what is reproduction? It is a process of formation, production of offspring having features more or less similar to parents, right? So in the previous classes you have studied there is two type of reproduction, asexual and sexual. So we are going to deal with both these categories in brief.